2002 Formula One Grand Prix. Brought to you by the Navy, Army and Air Force.
Hello and welcome to the San Marino Grand Prix. Alan Jones, the steering wheel of the Williams. Look at the buttons on that thing.
Just a couple to think about, Daz, isn't there? But look at the attention to detail. The seat, the steering wheel's all matching. I mean, the detail that they have in these Formula One cars is just unbelievable.
You wouldn't think you'd have the time to be able to look at all of those buttons and where they're placed.
Well, I think it's suffice to say we wouldn't. You know, they get very much used to it, of course, but a lot of it's pre-programmed as well. But there's certainly a lot to think about.
Anyway, here we go again, the San Marino Grand Prix. Always a good race, this one.
Yep, let's see who can have each other off tonight.
Well, qualifying, of course, important, and Ferrari's doing very well. Here's Tim Gilbert with his report.
The quest for pole at Imola could best be described as a dogfight. Rubens Barrichello scorching up the track. But Juan Pablo Montoya went even quicker before Montoya's Williams teammate Ralf Schumacher went faster again. Then Big Brother decided to mix it up with them, Michael Schumacher going into second spot. He looked destined to start from second when the checkered flag signalled the end of qualifying, but Michael had already started a flying lap, and sure enough, he grabbed the 45th pole of his career. Pushing Barrichello into second position, it's an all-Williams second row, Ralf Schumacher third quickest, Montoya fourth. Kimi Räikkönen fifth fastest, just ahead of his McLaren teammate David Coulthard. Nick Heidfeld in seventh position. Jarno Trulli will start from eighth.
Well, it's amazing. There you go. 2 Ferraris on the front, 2 Williams on the second, 2 McLarens on the third. Sauber, Renault, Button, Villeneuve, Massa, good result for him in 11th position. Olivier Panis 12th in the BAR. Frentzen, Sato, Fisichella, Sarlo, McNish, Eddie Irvine down in 18th in the Jaguar. Mark Webber did well, I think, to qualify in 19th. He was using Jung's spare car to do that. Bernoldi 20th, De La Rosa 21st and Jung 22nd, who did not qualify because he failed to go within 107% of the last guy.
Ferrari, I mean, they're really on the boil this year, aren't they? And Schumacher, I mean, Barrichello must go home and have nightmares, you know. Like, he's got pole, and he goes out with a minute and a bit to go and knocks him off.
Well, that was extraordinary. I mean, qualifying was just extraordinary to watch. And Barrichello, I thought, had it under control. I thought he was going to get pole. But then in typical Michael Schumacher fashion, he's gone out there at the last minute, just gone whammo, and whacked it on pole by a 15th.
All right, let's quickly update how the Aussies are racing overseas this weekend. In yesterday's Formula 3000 race at Imola, Ryan Briscoe finished in 13th, while Brisbane's Rob Nguyen came in 11th. That's not bad, considering it was only his 11th race start ever, so he's going okay. His form in the first race led to a small feature piece in the British Autosport magazine, who have labelled him a driver to watch. Racing tonight is James Courtney, who has taken pole for both of tonight's British Formula 3 races at Donington Park. That's 4 out of 4 poles this season. Now, another young Aussie, and he's trying to get ahead, is Andre Morgan from Victoria. Andre is racing this year in the Australian Super Touring Championship at the age of 16 years and 3 months, having been given special dispensation to compete. He came 4th and 3rd in his first race meeting, and his plan is to follow, of course, in the footsteps of Webber, Briscoe, Courtney and race open wheelers overseas. Well, he's probably not in the right class at the moment, is he?
No, I've got to say he's not, Daz. I mean, there's 3 people in a dog racing in Super Tourers, and they're all fairly ancient. I think if he's got aspirations to get into open wheeler racing, he better get his bum into a Formula Ford or an open wheeler and continue on up through that vein.
It's been a pretty quiet week actually in Formula One, and not too much to really report on. There's sort of nothing happening at the moment. What I would like to do is just say to you that it seems to come in waves in Formula One. We get a controversy thing and it settles down for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we get another sort of controversy. But the big talk tonight is about tyres.
Well, they're talking about altering the regulations for the tyres next year, but they haven't said what or how. They've just said they're thinking about altering it. So that's pretty open book. I mean, you know, you've heard my views on this in the past. I'd like to see them go back to slick tyres, go away with the grooves altogether, and perhaps decrease some of the downforce on the car, some of the lateral downforce, and give them back slick tyres. I think we'd probably see for more overtaking. And all this nonsense about, you know, the grooves have got to be so much depth, and at the end of the race, if the grooves aren't, that they can be specified as a slick, so therefore it's just not worth the aggravation. Put them on slicks to start with.
We won't see the Montoya Schumacher clash off the line tonight.
Well, he's on the second row, so
who knows?
There's every possibility in the wide world. It is overcast, it's reasonably cold. The Michelins have been about a second off the pace in the wet here, which is unusual because Michelin normally do a very good wet tyre, but for some unknown reason here, in the wet conditions, they've been about a second off the Bridgie's pace.
I was pleased to see in the overseas magazines that Schumacher and Montoya were both interviewed over the incidents that have happened so far this season, and they both show a lot of respect for each other. I mean, nobody was bagging each other. They're just saying, well, it's racing and we'll race tough, we'll race hard. I think that's good.
Well, they're two hard chargers out to win Formula One races, and I mean, when you have that, things will happen, and I think they recognise that, and I think it's good, actually. I want to see more of it.
OK, well, the cars, of course, making their way to the grid now. Because it is a pretty quiet, newsy week, we might take you straight away to James Allen and Martin Brundle.
Orange and yellow house right there, Martin. Wonder what they do the rest of the year. I bet the tickets for their back garden are pretty expensive today. Through the final chicane then on this parade lap, Mr. 2 Williams is coming through shot. Not been a great weekend so far for McLaren. Can they do something about that this afternoon? Still so few points on the board for the team, and yesterday they were saying how disappointed they were at their lack of performance.
It's a long run down to the Tamburello chicane, although the entry point is quite fast. It's not like at Monza, places like where there's a long run into a very, very big stop where you tend to get a lot of people tripping over. But there's really only one good line into Tamburello, so it does get rather tight down there. And, of course, as ever, front tyres cold, brakes will be cold, and they'll still be carrying well over 170 miles an hour. They'll be fueled up for 2 stops. The computer simulation here is very straightforward. It's a 2-stop race to maximise the weight of the car and the degradation of the tyres.
All the cars forming on the grid. At the back there, Mark Webber takes up his slot. Pedro de la Rosa is the last man on the grid. When the lights go off, it's Andiamo in Italia. 5 lights. You ready? You ready? We're off! Away goes Rubens Barrichello, but Michael Schumacher got a better start. And Ralph Schumacher does what he did last year and goes down the inside. He's now second. Look at the 2 Renaults in the back of the shot. And Montoya comes through as well. Has Montoya got Rubens? No, he hasn't. Michael Schumacher leads. Ralph is second. Barrichello is third. Then it's Montoya. And the McLaren is up there too.
I think Coulthard's the first of the McLarens, and we have a Toyota. It's McNish on the side of the road. Well, what a shame. We were just talking to him about what's going to happen on the start, but we didn't anticipate that. So a little bit of locking of brakes, but no drama then. Great driving into the first 2 chicanes. Michael Schumacher leads up the hill from Ralph Schumacher, Barrichello, Montoya. It is now Raikkonen, Coulthard, Trulli, Button, Heidfeld and Massa in the top 10.
And look at the pace of Michael Schumacher, pulling away now from his brother Ralph in second place. Rubens Barrichello is third. What are the fuel strategies? We're going to try and find that out as the race goes on, but it looks to me as though Barrichello is faster than Ralph Schumacher in second place and desperately wants to get past him. I think he's afraid that Ralph Schumacher has more fuel on board and is going to hold him up as the Toyota. That's Alan McNish despondently walking back into his garage, and look at the gap already of Michael Schumacher as we watch the McLarens go through the frames. The 2 Renaults have gone well, and then it's the 2 Saubers and the 2 BARs. It's into the ARC territory here in the top 10.
Yes, I think it just all got a bit tight. You were right. Williams away well, the Renaults away well, but they didn't make it stick as they got down to the first corner. It'd be nice to see a replay of that. Hopefully the Italian director will play that in later on. but at the moment Michael Schumacher leads from Ralph by 1.3 seconds as they went over the line, and the gap's pretty stationary, isn't it, down at the Villeneuve chicane, sorry, Tamburello chicane.
Everybody pushing very hard. Just look at that BAR stepping out. It's been a good weekend so far for the BAR team. They've qualified much better than they have throughout the weekend. Jacques Villeneuve into the top 10. There we are, the top of the screen now coming through. And I know they were hoping very much to get some points. Here is a replay, Martin.
Yes, there it is, and everybody just trying to dart to find a gap. And a long angle there. Michael really always had it covered, didn't he? You'll see Ralph snatching the front left, and that's so easy then to run into the gearbox of the car in front. The McLarens were squabbling over positions behind. Everybody away quite cleanly then. And look down the outside as the Renaults really have a great chance, and they got in each other's way. That's why it didn't work out for them down at the first chicane.
It was Trulli from the outside who got the better start of the two Renault drivers, but he did get in Jenson Button's way, and that's Alan McNish pulling off after, well, a few yards literally. No big winners and losers from the start line. The only loser really, Giancarlo Fisichella, has gone down from 15th place on the grid. He's currently 19th.
Michael is 3 or 4 tenths faster on this lap than second place man Ralf Schumacher, so it does seem, as ever, Michael has an extra confidence, doesn't he, where he can just carry speed in unknown conditions or a colder tyre. And look, you're watching from Montoya, you saw Ralf Schumacher slice up the inside, and Montoya says, I'll have a bit of that as well, but wisely backed out of it, and he sticks in 4th place where he started on the grid.
Interesting to see Ralf Schumacher locking a break there into the Tamburello chicane. He's come under a lot of criticism this weekend for not even attempting to pass his brother in the closing stages of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Montoya, his teammate, has said, if I'd been in that car, I'd have had a go at him. As we see the launch control start of Mika Salo, and another overhead view of the start. These computer systems now that actually launch the cars, it's not driver controlled anymore. All they have to do is release a button. You can see how Ralf Schumacher, as he did last year, just got the better drive down to Tamburello. But what's your take on this, Ralf Schumacher? Has he got what it takes to overtake his brother and have a go?
Psychologically, it's not going to be as easy for him to send in a 50-50 chance up alongside Michael as it would be for Montoya. I mean, I think Ralf, in a way, as Michael's brother, is in the same position as Rubens, as Michael's teammate, where, you know, it would be too messy if they tangled. But, of course, they have tangled in the past when Ralf was at Jordan. And I subscribe to, Michael said, look, when you get in the dirty air of another car, you can cruise up behind, and then you start losing grip. And I support Ralf on that. I don't think he really threw away too much of a chance to win the Brazilian Grand Prix.
6 points then for second place in Brazil. What's he going to get today as we look at Fisichella making his way through the field? He's now up into 17th place. That was a pass on Eddie Irvine. He's also got past Mark Webber. So Fisichella on the move.
Yes, Fisichella started 15th though, so obviously a bad start from him, and went backwards. So Fisichella went backwards 4 places, now moved forwards 2, but that's very much at the tail end of the field. No real surprises at the moment, James. If you look at the top 20, all that's running now, McNish out of the race. Alex Young, of course, did not start the race, so no major changes in there.
Alex Young failing to make it within 107% of the qualifying time of the pole sitter. It's a rule introduced a few years ago to stop slower cars that didn't deserve to make it into the race. It was agreed that 7% was around about the right amount. On this track, it's about 6 seconds, so that was the target. Look at the black clouds in the distance. That was the target for Young yesterday, to get within 6 seconds of the pole sitter. He didn't manage it. You said on the grid you felt that was the right decision. He shouldn't have been allowed a dispensation to run. He hadn't been really on the pace or throughout the weekend. A difficult track for many newcomers, this one.
No excuses in Formula 1 though, James, as I've said many times, and no, I stand by that. I don't think it would have been right to let him start this Grand Prix. There has to be a limit, and you can't bend them just when it suits you. But tell you what's a good little fight. Kimi Raikkonen in 5th place, keeping Montoya very honest. It's just a few tenths of a second between them, but Michael Schumacher's lead, as you can now see in track terms, is 3.2 seconds on the stopwatch, and he really does appear to easily have the legs on everybody at the moment.
Well, the question mark is always what's going to happen with the strategy, as you're looking at that battle with Raikkonen just dropping back a little bit as they accelerate up the hill from Tosa behind Montoya. There's the two BARs, Villeneuve in front of Panis, carrying those heavy cars up the hill. Most people run a two-stop race. That's Ralf Schumacher's wife, Cora, of his son. He called David for some strange reason. I'm not quite sure why a German would call his son David, but maybe he's a big fan of David Coulthard, I don't know. But a lot of people stopped twice here, round about lap 25 to 27 for the first stop. Last year, Rubens Barrichello started out with a one-stop fuel load, but had a switch just after half distance onto a two-stopper. But traditionally, most people will run to about 25 or 27 laps. Ted, what can you tell us?
James, just talking about strategy, I think Williams' only hope this afternoon to beat Ferrari is to start heavy and therefore go long on their first stint, hope the Ferraris pit earlier than them, and then put the hammer down and try to gain time. Ralf getting past Rubens was key. He's now in a position to control that number 2 Ferrari and make that kind of strategy work for him.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one, Ted. I think we should see the Williams getting stronger after lap 8, lap 10, but Michael's lead already now over 4 seconds. That is Jenson Button coming under increasing pressure from Heidfeld and Massa in the 2 Sauber Ferraris.
And we've lost Takuma Sato. Yes, there he is on your screens now. I could see him out of the window. The second Jordan driver. He's had a terrible start to the season, Takuma Sato. The team not yet scored any points. They have this weekend got an upgraded Honda engine, but well, he's coming into the pits. Maybe he's going to make it round. He was cruising very slowly. You can see there in the picture. It looked like he'd lost drive, but maybe they'll be able to work something out. Look, Louise, what can you tell us?
I'm going to get it from the horse's mouth, James. I'm with Alan McNish. Alan, that was a bit brief, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, it was a little bit. As soon as the car moved forward, there was a big shock into the gearbox for some reason, and we lost drive. And just tried it again in the pit, and there was nothing. So it was literally about a metre before it went.
Bad luck.
You have to say, as a brand new team, I expected Toyota to have problems like that, but they didn't show that kind of situation in the first 3 races. They had a remarkable start to their Grand Prix career, have the Toyota team. But inevitably, those kind of gremlins start creeping in, unfortunately. So Michael Schumacher now leads by 4.9 seconds. So if Ralph's going to keep in touch this afternoon, whatever his strategy, he's going to have to. And in fact, he looks more likely to come under pressure from Barrichello than he does catch Michael Schumacher.
He's losing about 3/4 of a second a lap, Ralf Schumacher, to his brother. You can see the gap there as they accelerate up the hill from Tosa. Rubens Barrichello staying behind, but not exactly menacing the back of the Williams, is he? If he is carrying a lot less fuel, you'd think he'd want to get past. That's a nice move by Enrique Benoldi on Mika Salo. That was the pass for 14th place. Just run you through the positions. That's Takuma Sato still struggling in the pit lane, some sort of problem with drive. Schumacher leading by 4.9 from Ralf Schumacher. Then it's Barrichello 3rd. Montoya is in 4th place. Raikkonen still right with him in 5th. Coulthard is 6th. 7th is Trulli. 8th Button. 9th Heidfeld. And 10th is Massa as we ride on board with Giancarlo Fisichella.
I think I heard Sato leaving the pits. Yes, Sato rejoins the race. So we still have 20 runners. McNish, the only retiree at this time. The pace is quite hot, James. Last year's race fastest lap, a 1:25.5. There's Sato, but not really at anything like racing speed. So we're expecting him to stop by the pits next time around. And that is teammate Fisichella, who is chasing Salo for 15th place. It's a difficult weekend again for Jordan, and that's sad.
Yes, just chasing through the second part of the Rivazza, and Sato still cruising around. Not quite sure what he's trying to achieve, but
he needs to park it. He needs to park that. He can't. I think he's very little drive in there, and you can hear the engine revving away as he left the pit lane, and he'll never get up the hill, and he'll certainly be in the way.
Quick check on the Brits. David Coulthard is 6th for McLaren. Jenson Button is 8th as Sato does take your advice, Martin, and park it up. And Alan McNish out of the race. Eddie Irvine running in 17th place. And this man is out the front at the moment. Michael Schumacher just over 5 seconds clear now of his brother Ralf. This is lap 8 of this 61-lap San Marino Grand Prix. And you can see the crowd today, a huge improvement on the people that turned out yesterday. I think the weather had put a bit of a dampener on the spirits around here. The passion didn't seem to be here. But an all-Ferrari front row has brought them out. The flags are flying. and they want to see this man take another step towards a historic 5th World Championship. But there's a long, long way to go yet.
The lead is now up to 5.9 seconds, and he continues to take at least half a second a lap advantage, does Michael Schumacher over Ralf Schumacher. Barrichello closes to within 1.7 seconds of second place, Ralf Schumacher. Montoya now slipping back from 4th place, pulling slightly away, from 5th place man Raikkonen.
Nice on-board shot there with Fisichella. You can see the nature of this circuit. It's very much a chicane-led circuit, isn't it? It's a point-and-squirt circuit, it's described as.
But it's very satisfying. I mean, to get the braking zones right and to just catch the car nicely on those curbs. And we're on board then with Fisichella still as you head down to the first chicane. And in qualifying, that's sort of easily flat out the second part. In the race, you have to keep an eye on it. But that yellow flag is waving for teammate Sato, who, as we saw, pull out in the other Jordan Honda. And gearbox problems confirmed then with Sato back with race leader Michael Schumacher.
Seems a bit strange that they were waving the yellow flags because Sato's car was pulled well and truly off the track. But this is lap 9. This is your race leader. Second place is Ralf Schumacher. 3rd, Barrichello. 4th, Montoya. 5th, Raikkonen. And 19 seconds behind race leader is David Coulthard. Lovely super slow-mo shot of the Ferrari, and one of the things that it seems to be very good at is getting over these curbs. In fact, I've been impressed with the McLaren and the Williams this weekend in terms of the way they get up and over the curbs. It's really important around this track. Lap 11 of the San Marino Grand Prix, and you're looking at the battle for second place between Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams and Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari, the brand new Ferrari. This is the first time this season he's been given the new car to race. Michael Schumacher had it in Brazil 2 weeks ago. This is Rubens' first chance to use it, and boy did he make use of it yesterday in qualifying. A stunning lap. We all thought that would be good enough for pole position. I think he thought it would be good enough for pole position as well, but right at the end, Michael Schumacher managed to bang in a slightly quicker one, and Rubens went to second place on the grid. But off the start line, he lost that place to Ralf Schumacher, which is why he finds himself in the position he's in at the moment. And once again, those clouds, I just saw them briefly through that shot, they're getting very dark and very menacing, even though the sun is shining on the main straight at the moment.
Talking about menacing clouds, this looks a bit like a Noah's Ark race. They're lining up again, especially if Barrichello passes Ralf Schumacher. It goes Ferrari, Williams, McLaren, Renault, Sauber, BAR, Arrows down to 14th place. They're all line astern, and it kind of tells you this is a car circuit and not a driver circuit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit 2x2, isn't it? Definitely. It's an important track to have a good engine on, the Imola circuit, and it's very important to have your brakes sorted out as well. There are 7 places on this track where you go from over 170 miles an hour down to something like 70 or 80 miles an hour in the matter of a few meters. So you really have to have your brakes in order, and the precision of the drivers hitting that brake pedal at just the precise moment. This is the scrap for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th places. Jarno Trulli at the front of it. Jenson Button, off the back of his 2 strong finishes in 4th place the last 2 races. He is 8th. Nick Heidfeld is 9th, and Felipe Massa is 10th in the second of the 2 Saubers, and that's really a great scrap in the midfield. And out the front, still Michael Schumacher now, 9.7 seconds and a new fastest lap for the race leader.
Yeah, still doesn't quite beat the lap record, but it's now within a 10th. Michael on a super hot pace at the front. The first scheduled pit stop on the 2 stoppers last year was lap 24. So we're now on lap 13, some time before we'd expect anybody in the pits. Michael, if he is carrying the full fuel load, will be well pleased with changing cars and opting to take that spare car that Rubens jumped into yesterday and made such a good job of qualifying in. Michael's lead, as you said, 9.7 seconds, and it's looking easy, isn't it, for him?
Perhaps we should just explain that. What happened yesterday was Rubens Barrichello had some kind of problem with his race car, but he wasn't happy with it, and so he took the spare car, which was set up for Michael Schumacher, changed it over to his settings for qualifying, and went out and, as I said before, virtually stuck it on pole position. So today, convinced clearly that it was faster, or possibly just trying to put a little psychological game, a little tweak on his teammate. Michael Schumacher demanded the spare car back, and he is sitting in it today. Rubens Barrichello, perhaps to get him back, or perhaps playing his own little game, who knows, he's jumped into what was Michael's original race car. So it's musical chairs at Ferrari, little games going on. I remember Nigel Mansell, one of the things he was most unhappy with when he was teammates to Alain Prost at Ferrari 12 years ago was one race he stuck it on pole position, and the following race Prost took what had been Mansell's car the race before and even switched the plate inside the car to make it look like it was the different chassis number. And Mansell was absolutely convinced it wasn't his car, eventually got the team to confirm that it wasn't. But these little political games, they go on.
Well, yes, I hadn't heard that story, but yeah, there's a lot of trickery goes on. But now all the chassis have got electronic codes on them for FIA safety tests, so I'm not sure you get away with that one these days. But it sounds like a dodgy car dealer's trick to me, that one. But clearly he got away with it at the time. What Renault are not doing is getting away from Sauber at this time, and Massa look really keeping his much more experienced teammate Heidfeld, who's ninth and in front of him, extremely honest. And the BARs are very much there in waiting, but for them 11th and 12th, but going better this weekend. Good to see. Sad not to see the Reynard name on the front of those white BAR cars, isn't it? Reynard ceased trading, and that's bad news for British motorsport, bad news for everybody at Reynard, of course. And Adrian Reynard did a lot for young engineers coming into the sport through the UK, and it's just really bad news for British motorsport, full stop.
Indeed it is. Reynard started out the BAR project a few years ago, making the chassis, and they lent their designer Malcolm Ostler to the project. He was recently fired by the new boss at BAR, Dave Richards. So it's all change within that organisation. Not all change, however, in the battle for second place. Ralf Schumacher still in front of Rubens Barrichello, and very interested to see how much fuel these two cars have got on relative to each other. It's a game of attrition here. It's not necessarily a game of impetuous overtaking, of having a go, of having a lunge. It's a game of thinking it through. It's a game of how much fuel has the other guy got on board, when is he going to stop, what can I do, how can I leapfrog this guy over the course of the next 45 or so laps.
I tell you, somebody who's having a miserable afternoon to match a miserable weekend is David Coulthard in 6th place, where he started the Grand Prix, but now dropped 6.3 seconds behind teammate Raikkonen, and the pair of them are just falling away from the back of 4th place Montoya, and McLaren not showing any better turn of speed, sad to say, than they did in qualifying. So their season really is not taking off at all.
No, they were 1 second off the pace of the Ferraris in qualifying, and there was a lot of browbeating going on yesterday. McLaren boss Ron Dennis was really doing the old sackcloth and ashes routine, virtually whipping himself on his back for what a poor car they have given to the two drivers. No criticism whatsoever of the two drivers this weekend. They did everything they could, but it's just not fast enough. And when we watched qualifying yesterday, we saw the McLaren, it was going around the corners the same as the Ferrari and the Williams. It just didn't seem to have the speed when the stopwatch finished, and I think horsepower has a fair bit to do with that, because the McLaren is losing about 5 or 6 miles an hour to the Ferrari and the Williams in a straight line, and particularly on this track with the uphill accelerations out of slow corners like Tosa, horsepower plays a very, very important role indeed. Michael Schumacher, though, is keeping the hammer firmly down. He's set the fastest first sector of the race so far. This is lap 16. He's pushing very, very hard indeed, and he's not just doing it for the people in the grandstands. He's doing it because he feels he needs to.
He's within, we're on lap 16. He's just 20 seconds away from starting to lap people. He's 20 seconds behind the tail enders, which is De La Rosa, started last, runs last at the moment in the Jaguar, 19th. They're running some 3.6, 3.7 seconds off the pace. I better hope they're doing one-stoppers this afternoon. Otherwise, they really are in desperate trouble around here. But that remains the fight for 15th and 16th between Salo's Toyota and Fisichella's slow-starting Jordan.
On board with Fisichella, over the hill. Back to an exterior shot again as they come out of the Piratella towards the Acqua Minerale.
And that is a new lap record you're seeing on the bottom of your screen. 125.5 was last year's new lap record. Michael Schumacher in the low 125. 125.359. Ralf Schumacher 25.8, his fastest lap of the race too. So now the Schumacher boys are really getting the hammer down. But Michael's lead is up to 11.1 seconds, and a very, very early stop for Heidfeld at the end of lap 17. And the team were not ready, we're told, from the F1 ITV pit crew. Some dramas, they're so slow putting the tyres on, they would have been in blankets as he came down the pit lane. So clearly an unscheduled, and worse than that, an unexpected stop.
Possibly a puncture then for Nick Heidfeld, because it seemed that tyres was what he was after, and that's been a disastrous blow to him. He's now rejoined behind this battle for 16th place between Salo and Fisichella, so he's gone from 9th to 17th, so a big, big shame for Nick Heidfeld. Picking up speed now, you can see he's back just in front of Eddie Irvine. So Heidfeld down to 16th place, and this is the battle between Salo in the Toyota and the Honda-powered Jordan of Fisichella. A lot at stake here. Let's ride with Fisichella, just listen to what he's up to.
They were obviously expecting the other Sauber in again this time around, unless Heidfeld still has a problem and is pitting yet again, and which would make sense, because quite clearly it's an unscheduled stop, the first one, and well, unless they're planning to 3-stop. But there then is Massa, so they must be 3-stopping. But he just surprised his pit crew first time around in Heidfeld. Now they're ready for him, so they're 3-stopping.
Well, it's a strange strategy. They made some mistakes in the past, the Sauber team. That's not a particularly fast stop for a 3-stop, so it's all gone a bit pear-shaped down with the Swiss team. Michael Schumacher, though, leading on lap 18 from his brother Ralf. 11.6 seconds now, the margin. Barrichello still third, Montoya fourth, Raikkonen fifth, Coulthard sixth. Still a lot of motor racing still to go. Lap 20 here in San Marino. That's your race leader, Michael Schumacher, going over the hill. He's 12.2 seconds clear of his brother Ralf in second place. Rubens Barrichello, though, is right behind Ralf still. That's the battle for second place. Montoya some way behind now, dropping off. He's not been his weekend, Juan Montoya, here in Imola. He wasn't really on the pace last year, and he's now 13 seconds behind Barrichello, and we've been having a really strange situation down in the Sauber pits. This is the second stop already for Nick Heidfeld. Louise, what's going on?
Well, it's difficult to tell you exactly what's going on, James. The team are all rather busy at the moment. Beat Zender has been busy inspecting the computers. I think what's happening is there's some kind of problem with the fuel rigs. I think the fuel didn't go into the car first time around, so that's why he's had to come in again.
Okay, well, we know he did surprise his team when he came in first time around, but even so, clearly they were scheduling an early stop, and a bizarre strategy, but it's going to spoil their day. Michael and Fisichella, the second Jordan, drops out of the Grand Prix.
Yes, Eddie Jordan will be really scratching his head. It's been a terrible start to a season, the worst for many, many years for the Jordan team, and the thing just stops, doesn't it? Nothing there at all. Engine, possibly hydraulics, who knows, but it's another retirement. Fisichella yet to finish a race in 2002, and a lot of hard work to be done at the Silverstone-based team.
Oh, Eddie Jordan's offered me a lift home tonight, and that's going to be a bit of a glum journey, isn't it? That's for sure, and understandably so.
Have you got a ticket? Because you may find he's left without you.
Yeah, that's a point, but I don't think so. Michael Schumacher still very much then in the low. 1 minute 25's the lead, up to 12.6 seconds. But Ralf Schumacher and Barrichello in third place, also lapping now in the 125, just steaming away from Montoya. You have to say, so many of us in the paddock thought Montoya was going to seize the initiative in that BMW Williams team this year. And, well, Ralph's the one who's been delivering the goods, isn't he? No doubt about it.
Montoya's been spectacular, he's been controversial, he's been aggressive, he's been exciting, he's been colourful, he's been thrilling. But Ralph has been steady, and it's a little bit of the case of the steady guy often gets the results. Currently 2 points clear of his teammate in the World Championship. And you can see Michael Schumacher now coming up to lap traffic, and this is the very, very slow this weekend Jaguar of Pedro de la Rosa, and he must just be so mortified on lap 22 to be lapped by the race leader. It's been a ghastly weekend for Jaguar again.
We have the Renault team out in the pit lane as well, so it's kind of into the two-stop zone just about. It's a very early two-stopper though, isn't it? We certainly don't expect a lot of tyre degradation, I think, on the Michelins. One thing they do seem to have is some durability, even if they lack early pace, or certainly they lack wet pace, but no sign of that promised rain at the moment.
No, the Saubers usually, as we look at a replay here of the Ferrari, just going past De La Rosa into the Tosa corner. The Sauber team we saw making an early stop, they use Bridgestone tyres. If indeed Renault are coming in a moment, they're on Michelin tyres, so no conclusions to be drawn about how the two relative tyres are wearing this weekend, as Michael goes like a hot knife through butter, through the back markers. That was Mark Webber he just picked off, running quite nicely along in 16th place. His next target will be the other Jaguar of Eddie Irvine. And how's that going to feel for Eddie then, formerly his teammate? I mean, he's been lapped many times by Michael Schumacher since he left Ferrari, but it just keeps on happening to him, doesn't it?
Yeah, but he's got his head down, Eddie, hasn't he? At least he's trying to do something about it. What's concerning, like he said to me on the grid, and I read him saying something similar in the week, we've got to find out what the problem is first before we can fix it, which means that, they're miles away in terms of time before they can start putting on a better performance, which is just sad news, really, for me.
Well, my understanding, talking in the paddock last night, is that the Jaguar team was struggling to get heat into the tyres. They just don't create enough downforce from the car, but into the pits comes Jarno Trulli from 7th place. This is lap 23, still quite early for a two-stop strategy. This is going to drop him down the field. He might well find himself coming out in around 13th or even 14th place, so a big drop from 7th for him, and a drive-through penalty, we're being told, for car number 7, which is Nick Heidfeld. He's been caught speeding, would you believe, in the pit lane.
Well, we saw him having to make two very early stops, and now, just to add a little bit of extra misery, he's got a drive-through penalty. So, no, not a stop and go, it's a drive-through. The same as we saw Montoya have in Kuala Lumpur, where he just has to troll down the pit lane on the speed limiter and lose whatever time that costs him without actually having to stop for 10 seconds. Salo leaping out of the way of race leader Michael Schumacher. Schumacher's lead 11.7 seconds. Hey, for the first time this afternoon, Ralf Schumacher just put in a faster lap than Michael Schumacher. But of course, he has been going through the traffic.
That drive-through penalty that Heidfeld is going to be receiving shortly is a new initiative this year, one of a raft of new initiatives to try and discipline the drivers, get some sort of consistency going in the penalty system. There's been a lot of controversy in the light of Montoya getting that penalty in Malaysia a couple of weeks ago, and then the repeated incidents between drivers on the first lap as Jenson Button dives into the pit lane. Lap 24, one lap then after his teammate Jarno Trulli. Button was 7th. He too will drop down. Where does Trulli find himself? Well, he's been quite lucky, actually. He managed to get just in front of a couple of cars who also came into the pits on the same lap. So Trulli lucked out and actually rejoined in 11th place. Will Button be as lucky as his teammate? He's got quite a few cars very close together just behind him on the track that will have gone through, so Button will have dropped down. There is Benoldi, and there Michael Schumacher coming through to lap him. Benoldi 13th at the moment.
Mika Salo in the pits was 14th. Scheduled stop for the Toyota. They're obviously two-stopping this afternoon as well. Just, you don't want to carry any more fuel than you have to around here with all the stop-and-go areas, and it just is an absolute no-brainer, is my understanding, that you stop twice this afternoon, unless you've got unless you're out of position on the grid or something, and you need to easily clear people, or you know you're going to get blocked for a while, and that then seems to be what most people are doing, at least.
Or unless your name's Nick Heidfeld, in which case you clearly stopped 3, 4, maybe even 5 times this afternoon He's going to know the pits better than he knows the racetrack by the end of the afternoon. This lap 25, Schumacher responding to the charge of his brother Ralph, puts in a fastest first and second sectors. I think we might be seeing a Ferrari pit stop in the not too distant future, judging by the way that Michael is putting the hammer down, but they don't seem ready for it, do they? Well, always prepared is no doubt their motto, but even if you don't look it.
It's Rubens Barrichello slipping up the inside of a Sauber and lapping it on the way into Tosa. Michael was 12.4 seconds ahead last time around. Another man putting a spurt on his fourth place, Montoya as well, suddenly picking up some speed compared to what he was doing. A 24.730, another new lap record for Michael Schumacher. Really just looking unbeatable this afternoon, isn't he?
He's putting on a masterclass in front of an adoring public here at Imola as Heidfeld comes in through to serve, presumably, his drive-through penalty. Yep. The loneliest sight in the world.
Red light flashing on the back, which doubles as the rain light, indicates that the speed limiter is on. That's all that's for. That's why it was flashing away. So something they used last year, because there was some accusations before traction control was officially allowed that some of the teams were using their pit lane speed limiter as data and a facility to effectively have traction control. So they made it such that the red light had to flash when you had your speed limiter on. But, no longer important, of course, because traction control is allowed now.
That third visit to the pits means that Nick Heidfeld now finds himself in 17th place. And only Mika Salo, who seems to have dropped off the pace quite dramatically in the last couple of laps. He was almost half a minute off the pace last time, presumably made a pit stop. Must be the only explanation, because he's dropped right down to 18th place. We didn't see it on the screens, but that must be what's happened. And Heidfeld has gone from 7th to 17th in the space of about 10 laps.
We did see Salo coming in for a pit stop. What we didn't see was much of the stop itself, which was obviously a very, very long stop. So Salo back at the end of the field. Ted is in the pits.
Just thinking, Martin, about some of the pit stop possibilities for the Michelin runners. My understanding is that it is possible for them to do quite a long stint on the same set of tyres. So what they could do, come in now like we've just seen the Renaults, go out, come in again fairly shortly, and then not change tyres, only put a bit of fuel in, send them out and let them do a long final stint.
Interesting idea. They've certainly done that by not changing their front tyres in the past and just letting the grooves go down and down. We'll keep an eye out for that one, Ted. And that is Barrichello getting very close to Ralf Schumacher as we cut away to Frentzen, who retires from the race. He was in 9th place, had yet to pit, but Frentzen having a solid run in the middle of the pack, but now sadly out of the Grand Prix.
And if ever a team needed a result, it was the Arrows team. This is their 375th Grand Prix, never won one, and they haven't scored a point, would you believe, for 14 races, the worst record in the field. They desperately need a point. Into the pits comes Panis. He was 8th. Clean enough stop from the BAR team. Pretty sharp pit crew BAR have. His teammate Villeneuve is still going strong in 7th place. And there's another man who could do with a points finish. But look at this scrap here. This is Rubens Barrichello now closing in on the back of second place man Ralf Schumacher, and they've got Eddie Irvine in front of them, and that's allowed Barrichello to get a lot closer. Now this BMW engine in the back of the Williams is famous for having plenty of horsepower, and Ralf Schumacher's really going to rely on it on the run down to the chicane. Does Eddie Irvine know that Barrichello's there? No, he doesn't. Oh, what a chop. That was a savage chop by Eddie Irvine.
Eddie decided he was going to take his rightful line into the corner and still doesn't really want to yield to Barrichello. That's costing Barrichello heavily. Surely Eddie will now just wave him through the inside into Tosa, and still not giving him any more room than he has to, does he? And Barrichello will not be HP about that one.
No, a little gesture from Barrichello expressed a lot of how he felt, I think, but that was a bit, well, that was a bit naughty, I think it's fair to say. There's a bit of history there, isn't there? Eddie Irvine, formerly the teammate of Michael Schumacher at Ferrari, replaced by Rubens Barrichello. Well, you can put your own motives into it, but that wasn't Eddie Irvine's most glittering moment in a Formula One car. Out of the race then, the second of the two Toyotas, Mika Salo. So, yes, he had a slow pit stop, but he obviously had some other problem as well that had dropped him all that time. And we just saw Jacques Villeneuve There he is. No, it's Panis, in fact. We saw Villeneuve making his stop, so I imagine that Villeneuve has rejoined in front of his teammate Panis, so that's shaken out well for the BAR team. And interestingly, Martin, looking at this sequence down here, this is the Villeneuve chicane they're going through now, and the famous Tozer corner. Memories go back 20 years. Didier Pironi, Gilles Villeneuve here at Imola, the famous race where they thought they had team honours and Pironi cheated Villeneuve, and 2 weeks later he died. This is the 20th anniversary of Gilles Villeneuve's last Formula One Grand Prix. Certainly one of my great heroes and one of the iconic drivers of Formula One history.
No doubt about that, and I'm sure 20 years from now they'll be talking in similar ways about Michael Schumacher's skills. And but there was something very special about those days, and the craziness. There were years when 1 in 7 of them died. Imagine if I walked down the grid these days and 1 in 7 of the drivers I talk to may die before the end of the year. That's how much the sport has changed in that time. But back in those days, they were gladiators in a greater sense of the word, I think.
Yes, Jacques Villeneuve knew his father only briefly in his young life, but he's got a lot of his spirit. There he is, just shooting through the frame at the moment. Dropped down a little bit now because he's been picked off by Felipe Massa, who's going very nicely indeed in the Sauber. He's got well and truly clear of his teammate Heidfeld, who has had all kinds of problems. And Massa stuck like glue to the back of the 2 Renaults. Button has got himself in front of Trulli as a result of the pit stop. So good news for the Brits, some good news anyway. And now Button's next target is David Coulthard in the McLaren, who's lapping, well, you have to say he's over a second a lap slower than the race leader Michael Schumacher.
Yes, he is indeed. Coulthard not having a good run, and if Button keeps on at the pace he's at the moment, when Coulthard makes his first stop, Button could well be in front of him when he rejoins. So Coulthard under pressure in 6th, Raikkonen pretty much by himself 5th, Montoya really out by himself in 4th, but Barrichello really menacing Ralf Schumacher in front of him. There you can see that battle for 2nd and 3rd. Yes, it's a good battle, and it'll definitely, the pit stops will have some sort of effect on it. This is lap 30 now, so they've gone quite a long way into this race, these 2 drivers. In fact, they've all gone quite a long way into this race. But just looking back at that battle between Coulthard and Button, Coulthard still to make his stop, and you need about 20 to 21 seconds in order to pit and rejoin in front of the guy behind you. David Coulthard has 19 seconds over Jenson Button, so if he doesn't pull his socks up a little bit in the next few laps, he might find that Button is in front of him. And Louise is with one of the unluckiest men in 2002, without a shadow of a doubt. He's not so very happy, Giancarlo Fisichella.
You're right there, James. Giancarlo, not a good day for you today again, I'm afraid to say.
Well, the problem was the hydraulic pressure. We lost the hydraulic pressure and stopped the car in the circuit. I was doing my race. Unfortunately, at the start, I did a good start. Actually, I did a good start, but then I was overtaking Frentzen on the left-hand side, and they closed the door, and I went on the gravel.
Giancarlo, I'm going to have to stop you there. The car's coming in. Thank you.
Yes, it's Kimi Raikkonen, but behind him we've got one of the Ferraris, I think, about to come in as well. A good stop. That's a 1-stop fuel load, I would say, probably gone into that McLaren. This is lap 31, which is pretty much half distance in this race. So we were talking about it being a 2-stop race, no-brainer, but in fact the front runners today look like they're 1-stopping. We don't yet know which of the 2 Ferrari drivers is going to be coming in first, but judging by the pace, in comes Rubens Barrichello, looks like, from 3rd place rather. Is that Rubens or is that Michael? It's Michael, race leader, into the pits then. 17.3 seconds he had over his brother. He should, well, I think Ralph might just get in front of him, but obviously he's still got to make his stop as well. So looks like Michael should be safe. There is Ralph responding. The Williams team bringing their man in as well. And Rubens Barrichello, you can see out on track just in front of his teammate, but he still has to make his stop as well.
Confirms they're 2-stopping, of course, with such a short fuel in both those cars. But, Barrichello leads the Grand Prix then. Rubens Barrichello leading this Grand Prix, but surely he too will stop in a while. De La Rosa in the pits. he came in from 13th place.
See him egging it on, he's sort of moving his head forwards and come on, get going. Must have felt like he's been doing that all weekend to try and get this thing to go a bit faster.
He's broken a clutch or a drive shaft or something because he's got no drive. He's got a motor, but he can't connect it to the tarmac. And so often a little input shaft in the gearbox, something like that, just breaks as you drop the clutch. An enormous amount of energy and a big set of sticky tyres on the back. Takes a bite out of the tarmac, and something has to give if they won't spin.
Both Michael Schumacher and Ralf Schumacher had identical refuelling times, 7.4 seconds, and that's around about 45 kilos of fuel, which is good for about 17 laps of fuel. So it's going to be probably the same lap that they come in next time. Here's Rubens Barrichello, though. How much fuel are they going to put in this Ferrari? And can he get out in front of Ralf Schumacher? That's the $10 million question. That was a great stop. 7.4, it says on the clock. We'll have to take their word for it because we didn't see the clock tricking down. There's Montoya in the pits, but where is Ralf Schumacher? And have Ferrari done enough? Is that Ralf Schumacher? Yes, it is. The strategy has worked for Ferrari. Rubens Barrichello is back in front of Ralf Schumacher.
And that's, we think he's got a faster car. He's certainly been homing in on Ralf, hadn't he, at every opportunity. So now you will have a Ferrari 1-2.
You can hear the cheers all around Imola. The whistle, listen to that. Fantastic.
What they came here to see. We're only just over half distance, of course, long way to go yet. But that was a good stop from the Ferrari boys, and obviously a very good enough. They're congratulating themselves. They know they got that one absolutely right. There's another one to do yet.
Yes, it's a long way to go yet, but they've got so much experience now, the Ferrari crew. They were pretty raw and had all the characteristics of emotional Latin racers for many years before the disciplined regime of Jean Todt, Ross Brawn and Nigel Stepney, who was for many years the chief mechanic, who is now the engineering liaison man. They really have honed this team into a terrific fighting force, got them up to the level of McLaren, who for years were the crack pit stop team in Formula 1, and Williams as well have sharpened up their act. Everybody has in Formula 1 now. You cannot afford to give away time in pit stops. And Ferrari have had some pretty important ones over the years, haven't they?
No doubt about that. Michael Schumacher leads by 16.5 seconds then from Barrichello. Ralf just 2.4 adrift. Montoya another 14 seconds further down the road. Coulthard up to 5th. He has yet to stop. The only runner to not stop this afternoon, David Coulthard. Raikkonen rejoined and is in 6th place.
But Coulthard is not out of the danger zone, particularly insofar as Jenson Button is concerned. Coulthard is just 18 seconds ahead of Button, and that's not going to be enough unless he puts a very, very small amount of fuel in the car. It's not going to be enough to get Coulthard out in front of that Renault. So dilemmas in the McLaren garage. What can they do with their second car? Because at the moment it's just not quite fast enough. Kimi Raikkonen, when Coulthard makes a stop, he'll be up in 5th place, which has pretty much been where he's been all afternoon. Coulthard struggling.
Second place man, Rubens Barrichello. Can he start eating into this lead now then? Now he's got some clear track ahead of him. That must, of course, then be for Coulthard's first scheduled stop of the afternoon. And I really think he could come out behind Button. Button could take up 6th place, the final championship point. Tremendous reliability up at the front end this afternoon so far.
Tremendous reliability pretty much everywhere. We've got 16 cars still running. And there is David Coulthard. Now this is going to be a very, very important stop. Remember, it takes 12 seconds plus whatever this clock says to make the stop. Well, if we had a clock, there it is. Oh, very fast. Now it's less than that. It's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight. Where's Jenson Button? Well, we've cut to the race leader. There's Jenson Button passing us now. So we can't quite see whether Coulthard got out in front of him. I'm afraid you're going to have to wait for us to spot it on the computer, because the Italian director, not surprisingly, is focusing on the glory man. We understand that Button is ahead, though. from our F1 ITV pit crew. Let's see if we can get some confirmation of it, but if so, it's a great move by Jenson Button, and another difficult afternoon for David Coulthard.
Yeah, Button's ahead. Button is then up into 6th place. Effectively, Coulthard will be down to 7th when it all shakes out on the computer here. So now the Renaults are splitting the McLarens, but up front it's all Ferrari, followed by all Williams, BMW in 3rd and 4th. But at this stage, Michael Schumacher is still easily the fastest man on the racetrack.
So lap 36, Michael Schumacher leading by 16.7 seconds. We've just had the first round of stops, but a lot more to happen here at Imola. Lap 38 of the San Marino Grand Prix, and the monster, Juan Montoya. He's not monstering today though, out of the Rivazza in the BMW Williams. He's down in 4th place at the moment, 35 seconds behind the race leader Michael Schumacher as he crosses the start-finish line. Schumacher leading then from Rubens Barrichello. It's a Ferrari 1-2 here at Imola at the moment. At the moment though, only just over half distance. Ralf Schumacher in the first of the Williams BMWs is 3rd, and he's 15.3 seconds up the road from where this man's sitting.
Can't see any reason why Montoya's not on the pace from the way his car's handling. He's really not fighting it anywhere. It looks quite nice, a little bit of understeer there into Tosa, which you tend to get where the front won't fight, a delayed turn-in as it were. We're going to go over the crest into Piratella, which surprises you every time you get there, cutting away to an inevitable Sauber pit stop. They'll be wearing the tarmac out around that area if they're not careful. Heidfeld, that's his 3rd time through the pits this afternoon. Massa, who was in 9th when he came in. That's his 2nd stop of the afternoon.
It's been a bit Keystone Cops for Sauber this afternoon, particularly where Nick Heidfeld's concerned. He's made 2 stops where one would have done earlier on, and then unfortunately was done for speeding in the pit lane, so he had to come through again to serve a drive-through penalty. But Massa wasn't having a bad afternoon until this stop. He's driving hard.
A new lap record for Rubens Barrichello, your 2nd place man, now rejuvenated with some fresh air in front of him instead of the Williams of Ralf Schumacher, and he has pipped Michael's fastest lap of the race so far in a 1:24.170, and just taken 6/10, about a bite of 6/10 out of Michael's lead. Can Barrichello catch him up? He certainly won't be allowed to pass him, surely.
No, he won't. But we understand the rules the other way around are that if Rubens Barrichello is leading and on for a win, jocularity in the Ferrari garage, if Rubens is on for a win, he won't be asked to move aside for Michael. We haven't seen that scenario played out yet. We've seen other scenarios, like in Austria last year, where it was for points-paying position that Rubens had to get out of the way and let Michael through, but the championship was a bit more advanced then, and David Coulthard was more of a threat in those days. But at the moment, it's Ferrari 1-2. They're running free. And Rubens Barrichello in his 150th Grand Prix is a new man this weekend. He was so fast in qualifying. He's been fantastic this afternoon in the race. Got himself past Ralf Schumacher by driving very hard around the time of the pit stops, and a tiny bit of pit work by the Ferrari team got him out in front of the Williams.
Kimi Raikkonen bumping across the curves. He's still in 5th place. Coulthard in 7th is lapping quite slowly now. We've no idea what his problems may be. But Coulthard really significantly off the pace, and I think on the next round of pit stops he could well come under pressure from Trulli in the 2nd Renault in 8th place, and Villeneuve and Panis are not so far away in the BARs in 9th and 10th. So not a great day for McLaren, and an appalling day for David Coulthard. Button top Brit in 6th, 1 championship point. But there's a lot of struggling over those tail end points today, because at the moment Ferrari and Williams really have the top 4 places in the bag.
This is very interesting. They stopped very late this year, didn't they? Lap 31, Michael Schumacher. Lap 32, Rubens Barrichello. Lap 34, David Coulthard. They took on enough fuel for between 16 and 18 laps each. And that certainly is not dividing the race into 3 equal parts, which we've seen in the past. So they obviously were trying to sense each other out, trying to feel what they were all going to do. And they've actually, coincidentally, all ended up doing more or less the same thing at just a later and more delayed stage.
Well, they follow each other very carefully. I mean, they have their revs analysed with special machines, and they get printouts. They know where the other drivers are braking, where they're changing gear, exactly how many revs they're pulling. They can then calculate the fuel load they've got on at any time, as Heidfeld pits for the 4th time this afternoon, 3 times for a chat with his team and receive some goodies, and the other time, of course, was for his drive-through. But the teams, you'll be amazed, James, at the information these teams have got on each other, down to revs, you know, down to the last rev or two. They know what they're pulling at the end of the straight from the various sources of data that are available, and that's a side-by-side replay of the earlier pit stops, which culminated in Rubens Barrichello leapfrogging up into 2nd place past Ralf Schumacher, but it seemed to me that was because of the in-lap rather than the pit stop itself.
I was about to say, it looked like it was the driving that did it rather than the pit stop. Look at this, though. Jarno Trulli comes into the pits from 8th place. It's been a race-long battle Trulli's been involved in, with Jacques Villeneuve, who's behind him, 11.4 seconds behind him, and this is to try and get himself, not a great stop by the Renault team, this is to try and get himself ahead of David Coulthard when the Scotsman makes his stop, which we anticipate being around about lap 50, sometime around that. We're now on lap 42 as we take it easy at Imola in certain portions of the circuit. The Renault team apparently getting ready for Jenson Button as well, we're told by our pit crew. So Jenson Button going very strongly at the moment in another points paying position in 6th place. Can he do better? He's 6.4 seconds behind Kimi Räikkönen and lapping about 0.4 of a second faster than the Finn.
Michael Schumacher's lead, so you see 21 laps remaining, down to 14.7 seconds now. Still Barrichello nibbling away 10th by 10th as Jenson Button pits for the 2nd scheduled stop of the afternoon for him. And if he has a decent stop, he had to really swerve around the outside of the BAR team, didn't he? It was nip and tuck, and there's not a lot of steering lock on a Formula 1 car. Otherwise, the very wide front tyres neck out on the suspension and the bodywork, and it's not always easy to manoeuvre them. And again, not a great stop, you'd have to say, for a 2-stopper, but it was kind of okay, and I think will keep him in front of David Coulthard, especially given Coulthard's lap times at the moment. Michael Schumacher leads by 14.7 seconds from Barrichello. Ralf Schumacher in 3rd, 22.5 seconds behind the leader.
Lap 44 of the 61 here at Imola, the San Marino Grand Prix. That's Juan Montoya in 4th place. Michael Schumacher still leading by 14.2 seconds from his teammate Rubens Barrichello. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams is 8.8 seconds behind. But we're getting news from the pits that one of the Ferrari technicians has been spotted on the pit wall with a spare steering wheel for Michael Schumacher. And in the past, a few years ago, I remember being down in the pits a few times when Schumacher had to come in and change a steering wheel. It was quite common around about like 1999 and 2000 seasons. They had to make those switches. A lot of the electronics on the car are controlled from buttons on the steering wheel. Has Michael Schumacher got some kind of problem? Judging by his pace at the moment, you'd have to say no. He's lapping faster than everybody except his own teammate. And well, at the moment it looks like Michael's doing okay, but there's obviously some concern there that he's not got all the buttons he'd like to have on his steering wheel working.
Sounded all right as he came past the pits last time around. Bernaldi in then for his second stop of the afternoon from 12th place, and Raikkonen pulls out of the Grand Prix. 5th place man Kimi Raikkonen. Ted, what can you tell us?
Martin, right down here, no explanation. His engine was still running. He had gears. He's getting out. What are they looking at? What are the mechanics looking at? He's getting out the car, no worries. It was actually David Coulthard's engineers who were sprinting up and down from the McLaren pit wall to the back of the garage to look at the telemetry. There is a lot of smoke coming out that back of that car, though. Maybe it is engine, or it might be a brake fire.
Well, the brakes will be very hard. Normally, when you're on an in-lap in practice and qualifying, you cool them on the way in. And Raikkonen steaming into the pit lane, but then decided to clearly knew that it was game over straight into the pit garage. So Coulthard moves up into sixth, well, what will now be fifth. He's not stopped yet. Ferrari are ready for another pit stop. It was Michael who pitted first last time around. You would have to assume it'll be he that will pit first again of the two Ferrari cars.
Well, he's on target to make a stop any time around now. He pitted on lap 31 first time around. This is lap 46. So the race leader likely to make a stop. We're certainly very interested to see what happens with David Coulthard. He's going to be coming in shortly as well, probably another 4 or 5 laps, and he's really got to worry about Jenson Button. But Williams are out in the pit lane as well, so we expect to see a repeat of what we had earlier on. The Ferrari and Williams crews going together. Panis, though, in some sort of difficulty, I think.
Yes, we saw Panis creeping around the racetrack, and he too noses it straight into the garage, and that's a clear sign. He doesn't think that's going any further. You can't park in front of the garage because you just block the way for your teammate then, so it's best to get it in there as our leader, Michael Schumacher, pits at the end of lap 46, and away he goes with a solid pit stop.
Didn't change the steering wheel, so whatever the concerns were, it wasn't enough. Rubens Barrichello takes the lead, but he was 13.7 seconds behind his teammate at the start of that lap. So when he makes his stop, Michael will definitely get back in front. Luca Baldesseri, the engineer of Michael Schumacher, still holding that steering wheel though, so there may be some concern. Ralf Schumacher though, a decent stop, 7.2 seconds. He's in third place. Fourth still Montoya. Fifth Coulthard still. Sixth Button. Seventh Villeneuve. Eighth Trulli. Ninth Massa. 10th Raikkonen. A lot of question marks still over who's going to score points this afternoon. We've still got another 15 laps to go.
Imagine what it must feel like to be in a Ferrari at Imola in front of the Italian crowd, leading the Grand Prix as Barrichello is at the moment. Clearly he's pitting at the end of this lap, our new race leader, but it must be one of the most spectacular feelings, mustn't it, as you see the red rim of the cockpit around you and knowing that you're driving for the team based just 20-30 minutes down the road with so much fantastic history, and the local crowd right behind you. Irvine pitting from 12th place. We have 15 runners in this race, 14 now that Panis is gone, so we're down to just 14 runners. Car number 2, Rubens Barrichello, was leading, will go into second place, and I think will comfortably. That's a long stop, left rear, big problems, Ted.
Yeah, problem with the left rear. Looked like they got the tyre off well, but when they put the new one on, maybe it was a cross-threaded nut. We'll find out about that as soon as we can, but definitely problem with getting the left rear back onto that car.
That could have cost him second place. Where is Ralf Schumacher? Didn't see him in the background, so maybe he's long gone in the foreground. Ralf Schumacher was... Who is that coming in behind there? That is indeed...
Montoya.
It's Montoya, so Ralf has cleared then, and look, the left rear man is still there, still trying to work out what's gone on.
So the high fives they gave each other at the first stop, well, it was all a bit too premature, wasn't it? You can't count on anything in Formula 1. Look at that, the left rear is still not sorted out. They've got a problem, maybe they cross-threaded one of the wheel nuts, or it's just not working out for that guy trying to operate the wheel gun at the back, and this is reminiscent of that poor fella. Do you remember when Nigel Stepney, the refueler at Ferrari, got his leg broken as Eddie Irvine walks back in, so he's out of the race, and they had to put a substitute refueler in a few years ago. Do you remember that? And the whole race hinged on it, and he messed up. He couldn't get the thing lined up properly, and it all fell down like a pack of cards. It's real pressure in these pit stops. I've stood down there many times and watched them. They really do get very pumped up, these mechanics. and he'll be mortified, the guy on the left rear, that's happened to him today. Rubens Barrichello down to 3rd place.
And he'll also be wondering, did he get the other one on properly as well? If he got cross-threaded, there's always that concern. Did it go on properly? So Montoya pits then. Montoya into the pit for his second and final and fully scheduled stop of the afternoon. He's way off the pace there. He's not going to bother Rubens Barrichello.
Tidy departure, tidy stop, but not really a tidy performance this afternoon by Juan Montoya. Strange, isn't it? A guy who can be so on the pace the first 3 races of the season, be challenging for race wins, and then a day like today, it's just not there. Nothing wrong with the Williams. The Ralf Schumacher is going strongly, as we've seen all afternoon, although not as strongly as the Ferrari, it must be said. But Montoya will be asking himself some questions after this performance, because he wants to consider himself a championship contender. I think he will be pleased, though, to be scoring some points. That's what he's looking for this afternoon, definitely.
The reason why so many of these pit stops are identical times is it's limited by the fuel normally. It goes in about 13 litres per second, and that's why they're tending to be 7.2 to 7.4, because it's driven by the volume of the fuel flow.
Villeneuve from 7th place. He should be okay. Trulli was not too far behind him. There is what's that button? No, let me work that one out. That's button with Barrichello behind him. So this second round of pit stops, Button manages to get ahead of Villeneuve, but Coulthard is the man that Button's targeting anyway.
I think Coulthard will clearly lose out to Button when he stopped. Button was only 15 seconds behind him, and Villeneuve was only 4 seconds behind Button. So Coulthard under pressure from 2 cars behind, as we know this is for David Coulthard, this stop, because he's the only McLaren still running. Raikkonen dropped out of the race with smoke coming out of his car. We don't know why exactly. Ted, take it over.
Martin, you're absolutely right. You need a good 21 seconds to get ahead of your next rival here at Imola. They are changing the Michelins. The fuel is in, but it's like what we said. They have not changed the tyres. What about that, Martin?
Well, they had to do that, really. That's their only chance of staying in front of Button, which is not going to happen. You saw Button go, and Villeneuve, who's just going to be in the background, I'd imagine, if he's had a decent outlap. And there was something on his front left, don't know what that was, but where is Villeneuve? Well, I was very surprised to not see Villeneuve in the background of that, so clearly some kind of problems on the outlap for Villeneuve, and then Button does stay ahead of Coulthard, but they're going to be in the points, I think, at that, but they're about to be lapped.
Yes, Michael Schumacher's lapped everybody up to and including Jacques Villeneuve. That's the 7th place man, so only the points scoring positions have not been lapped. It's been that kind of an afternoon for Michael Schumacher. He leads by 16.9 seconds from his teammate Rubens Barrichello, who's driven beautifully all weekend, and he'll be very pleased if he comes away with 6 points for 2nd place to open his account this season, because this will be his first finish and indeed his first points if he can stay there of the 2002 season. Ralf Schumacher, though, he wants to do something about that. He's still in 3rd place, 7.4 seconds behind Barrichello. In 4th is Montoya, 5th is Button, and 6th, David Coulthard. Kimi Raikkonen we saw retiring from the race just earlier, so it's been a tricky afternoon for the McLaren team. If it stays like this, they're going to go away with just 1 point to show for their San Marino Grand Prix on a track where they've had pole position for the last 4 years, where they've won 2 or 3 times in the last few years. Now let's have a look again at what Coulthard does.
And the car certainly did not leave the ground, did it? They cleaned the visor, they cleared out the ducts into the radiators, just fueled it in a desperate attempt to keep him in front of the Renault, and it didn't work out. Villeneuve remains behind Coulthard. Villeneuve did not clear Coulthard, so he will be in 7th, Trulli 8th. Can Coulthard do anything about Button? Our Brits 5th and 6th, just 3.3 seconds apart. McNish out of the race at the very start with transmission failure, and we saw Irvine walking back, but we didn't really see him dropping out of the race, did we?
No, we didn't see exactly why he went out, but We've got 12 runners still going. So quite a few retirements in the second half of this Grand Prix. Kimi Räikkönen, we mentioned. Olivier Panis is out. De La Rosa is out. So too Mika Salo, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, Fisichella, Sato, both the Jordans, and McNish. On board though with Montoya.
Something we were wrong about, James, is Barrichello is still up in second place. We haven't seen anything of them, but Montoya's fourth. But we pretty much had Ralph in front of Barrichello, didn't we, after that dodgy left rear? I certainly did in my mind. We were looking for Ralph Schumacher, assumed he'd gone through the picture, but the computer's showing him 8.5 seconds behind. So we haven't seen anything in that scrap for a while. As we watch Montoya down into Acqua Minerale, he's a full 18 seconds behind his teammate at this time, but Ralph Schumacher still nailed in third place. That's surprising, isn't it, that Barrichello did not lose out on that second position.
Very strange indeed. Very strange indeed. We saw Montoya coming through in the back of the frame, and he was clearly fourth at the time, so something must have gone on there. Maybe it wasn't Montoya, maybe it was Ralph. But anyway, the story is Michael Schumacher leads from Barrichello, Ralph Schumacher, Montoya, Button and Coulthard round out the top six. Villeneuve quite clearly did have some kind of drama on his outlap. He's seventh, Trulli eighth, Massa ninth, and Heidfeld, who's had 4 trips through the pits today, is actually in the top 10, in 10th position. Bernoldi and Webber round out, well, they did round out the 12 that are still running, but that's Bernoldi, who's stopped out of 11th place. We saw that car as it went into the gravel trap. The rear wheels were locked, the front wheels were spinning, which some sort of problem, seized engine or something.
Yeah, he's decided not to take the corner. I mean, he just intentionally drove off the road. Some kind of engine or gearbox problem there then for Bernoldi, and just decided not to commit the car into second Ravazza and just get out of the way. So that is sixth place man Coulthard being hunted down to be lapped by leader Michael Schumacher.
Well, let's just take a moment to consider that, shall we? A McLaren in the 4th Grand Prix of the season, with only a few points on the board, about to be lapped by Michael Schumacher using the new 2002 Ferrari. That quite a surprising sight, you have to say. Who's that going slowly? It's one of the Ferraris. Is that okay? No, I think he is okay. He's going through the Tosa corner. It looks like it's all right. Michael Schumacher honing in then on David Coulthard. This is lap 54. Rubens Barrichello second. Ralph Schumacher third. Fourth is Montoya. Fifth is Button. And sixth, David Coulthard. Here's Montoya, though, on board with him, hammering down towards the Tamburello. Listen to down change. Looking at a replay here of him just going past Mark Webber in the European Minardi. That was putting a lap on the Australian driver. And there's Jean Todt on the pit wall, master of all he surveys. Schumacher, Michael Schumacher, has won 36 Grand Prix for Ferrari, heading for his 37th today, and all of them have come under the Jean Todt's direction.
Just thought I heard Barrichello short shifting as he went headed down to Ravazza. It's working okay there, isn't it? But, what's his lap time as he comes over the line? Michael's dropped off into the 1:26s. Rubens also in the 1:26s. They're still trying to clear Bernoldi's car out of the gravel at second Ravazza. He would have been rather better sticking that on the grass on the inside, but in fact they're all down in the 1:26s now, probably having to respond to that waved yellow flag and just slow down a little bit.
Yes, it's interesting. I was absolutely sure that Ferrari looked like it was going very slowly into the Tosa corner just a moment ago, and Rubens Barrichello 2 seconds slower on that lap than he had been before. But as you say, Michael Schumacher also 2 seconds slower. We hear that the Ferrari technicians are still on the pit wall. They've still got the spare steering wheel on their hands, so there's something going on there. But this is lap 55, and Michael Schumacher 12.7 seconds ahead of his teammate. Ralph Schumacher third, Montoya fourth, Button fifth, Coulthard in sixth still. Into the final stages of the 2002 San Marino Grand Prix. Martin Brundle and James Allen with you. Michael Schumacher leading the race. He's 14 seconds clear of his teammate. Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams is third, and then the other BMW Williams of Montoya is fourth. Jenson Button has done very well this afternoon and got himself ahead of David Coulthard. So the McLaren down into 6th place and the last point scoring position. Jacques Villeneuve is still going very strongly, looking for some kind of result this afternoon for BAR. His best has been 8th this year so far. He'd dearly love a point to show for all his hard work this weekend, and there's still some question marks down in the Ferrari garage. They're still holding spare steering wheels. Ted, what's going on down there?
James, I can tell you that I've been studying the Ferrari pit wall very carefully. As you well know, Ross Brawn has a satisfied look when he sits back with his arms crossed, and then he has a look when something's going on. And I can tell you his right thumb has not been off the little button that says MS on his radio. He's been in constant transmission with his lead driver. His engineer, Luca Baldessari, is still holding a new steering wheel for that F2002 on his little pit wall gantry. But I did see him look to Ross Brawn about a lap ago and raise a finger up, raise a thumb up, as in, I think it's okay now. But we'll keep a very close eye on this.
Well, Michael Schumacher is now lapping back in the 1 minute 25, so it's not hindering him too much. In fact, he's extending his lead at this stage of the race. But the two Ferraris have dropped quite a bit off their ultimate pace. Rubens Barrichello smashing the lap record by nearly 1.5 seconds into the low 1 minute 24s earlier in the race. But they're not exactly under tremendous pressure at this stage, James, that's for sure either. The Williams really just not close enough with 5 laps remaining.
It's a great scrap for 8th place between Jarno Trulli in the Renault and Felipe Massa in the Sauber. No points at stake here, just a little bit of glory, a little bit of honour between the two of them. This has been really the battle for 4th place in the Constructors' Championship, and it will be for the rest of the season the way things are going. The Renault team have come out very strong this year and got themselves in front of Sauber, who were 4th last year in the championship. Louise, what can you tell us?
Just a bit of an update for you on a couple of the retirements, James. Eddie Irvine with the drive shaft failure, exactly the same as his teammate. The cars take quite a pounding over the curbs here, and obviously the Jaguars couldn't quite take it today. Kimi Räikkönen, an unusual one for him. There was a problem with the exhaust, and the team sensed that it was pumping hot gases onto the suspension, so they brought him in for safety reasons.
Well, there you have it, and there on screen you have the best fight on the racetrack at the moment. Sadly, it's way down there for 8th and 9th place between Jarno Trulli and Massa in the Sauber, and it's easily the best fight on the track, just 0.4 of a second between them as they cross the line. A couple of car lengths, as you can see, but the rest of the field, the rest of the 11 runners are pretty much spread out now.
Yeah, we've had some good scraps all afternoon, really, between the two Saubers and the two Renaults, between Rubens Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher, but they haven't led to wheel-to-wheel racing on the track. It's a tricky circuit to overtake on this one, and most of the overtaking that's taken place this afternoon has taken place in the pit stops or indeed through cars pulling out. Jacques Villeneuve has gone up from 10th on the grid to 7th place. He's made terrific progress this afternoon. So has Jenson Button, currently lying in 5th place. This is a slow-mo of Rubens Barrichello. What does that tell us? Nothing at all. And yes, Button had a very, very good afternoon. But we should make the point, Martin, that there's more at stake here than just simply a race win, because if the two Ferraris stay where they are at the moment, and then we see Ross Brawn, who Ted was referring to just a moment ago, the technical director of the Ferrari team. If Ferrari can bring these two home, 1 and 2, they will leapfrog Williams in the Constructors' Championship and have a firm hold on both championships. And that looks like
Massa's pulled it off, I think. Indeed. Massa, I'd love to see a replay of that move, because that's a brave move. And here we see it. He sticks it up the inside. Jarno Trulli wisely deciding to get out of the way, otherwise they would have connected. But that was a brave, brave move from a young man in his 4th ever Grand Prix, just 20 years old, and well impressed with that one.
Yes, Massa being talked about as a possible replacement in the future for Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari team. Certainly Jean Todt has got his eye on the young Brazilian, and is rumoured to have placed him at Sauber, who are a customer of Ferrari, of course, for engines. So watch Felipe Massa, because he's going to be a big name in the future, the young 20-year-old Brazilian. But let's talk just very briefly about Jenson Button's performance this afternoon. Another strong, solid drive in this car. He's 5th at the moment, and his teammate Jarno Trulli in the same car down in 9th place.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a significant thing, isn't it? Very significant that Renault on sheer performance, are ahead of McLaren. Raikkonen was ahead of Button though until they had the problem with Raikkonen's car, which was sensors telling them that the rear suspension was overheating, being melted, maybe a broken exhaust or something like that. You've got to have a lot of belief in your telemetry and your sensors to just pull the car out of the race, but you've also got to have some common sense on the safety front. But you were talking earlier about Renault just trying to be best of the rest, but at the moment they're a serious threat to the McLaren team.
Yes, and McLaren have had a number of retirements already this season. David Coulthard retired from the first 2 races. Kimi Raikkonen retired in Malaysia. So the reliability record at McLaren isn't particularly good, nor is its pace. Out of the Tosa corner, the huge banks of spectators. It's been a terrific crowd today here at Imola, attracted by the prospect of a Ferrari 1-2. They were given one in qualifying, and they're very close to being given one here in the race as well. That's Ralf Schumacher. He's in 3rd place, 6.7 now, behind Rubens Barrichello, and taking about a second and a half a lap off him at the moment.
Yeah, I've been watching him for a while. He's been taking a lot of time out of Barrichello, but more because Barrichello's going so slowly. He can afford to, though. I think he had enough in his pocket with such a little distance to go. But Barrichello, I don't think really has any dramas. I think he's just coasting a little bit to the end. Coulthard has now been able to hang on to Michael Schumacher after he was lapped, but it's more because Schumacher's just dropped his pace off.
Into the final lap then for Michael Schumacher. Is this going to be win number 3 of the season? It certainly looks like it. And a Ferrari 1-2 as well. Quickly time then, Martin, for you to give us your views on the driver of the day. Who's it going to be?
It's not been a thrilling race, has it? I mean, Blundell was good in the rent-a-car on the way in this morning. I don't know where else to look, but I guess I hate having to do it, but you've got to give it to Michael. It's a peerless drive, decent start, just made it all work out, made the strategy work out as ever, really kept the race very much under control. You can't really put your finger on anybody that's had a stunner today. Impressed with Button's 5th place, no doubt about that.
Up the hill then for the final time. The flags are waving at Imola. Over 100,000 of them have turned out. It's been a strange weekend in terms of weather, but it's been a Ferrari weekend, no question at all about that. Michael Schumacher in the 2002 car has come here, and he really has given the rest of the field something to think about, and so too has his teammate Rubens Barrichello.
Yes, indeed. Barrichello will have mirrors full of Williams as he goes over the line in 2nd place. Ralf Schumacher really desperately trying to home in on him on the last lap.
But Michael Schumacher's done it. He wins the San Marino Grand Prix. It's the 4th time he's won this race in his career. And Rubens Barrichello, as you say, is going to have his mirrors very full of Ralf Schumacher. That's the margin at the end. There's not a great deal in it, but it's been a fantastic weekend for the Brazilian. He really is back now after all the pressure that's been on him over the years, over the recent races rather, and he's certainly answered his critics. So in the World Championship now, Michael Schumacher really puts some daylight between himself and his brother. He's now 34 points to Ralf Schumacher's 20. Montoya here, we're on board with him. He comes through to finish 4th, and that means he's on 17 World Championship points. And Jenson Button, a scorer, once again, he's now clearly 4th in the World Championship on 8 points. Well, a 1-2. It wasn't quite the formation finish that they enjoy, but here they are now in line astern. This is for the benefit of the photographers for tomorrow morning's papers.
Ferrari move into the lead of the Constructors' World Championship, the one that Frank Williams says is the most important to him out of the 2. He moves down to 2nd place with BMW Williams. 40 points for Ferrari, 37 BMW Williams. McLaren 3rd on 9 points. Renault 1 point closer to them in 4th on 8 World Championship points. It's the top 4, but at the moment it's all about Ferrari, isn't it? Their new car now has been absolutely peerless. It's won both of the Grand Prix that it started. Now they've given one to Barrichello, and he's popped it up into 2nd place as well. It has yet to be beaten in a Grand Prix, that car, in any way, shape or form.
Indeed, and it's been 100% reliable as well. And 1 car in Brazil, 2 cars here, and lots of points. This weekend, the Bridgestone tyre was the one to have in qualifying, no doubt about that. This afternoon, it's difficult to tell. looking at those listings because a number of people dropped out of the race, but I would say if it was 0.3 of a second faster in qualifying the Bridgestone tyre, then it certainly was again this afternoon as well, but not a great deal in it. Today's been about the Ferrari, it's been about the way it handles the curbs, it's been about the whole package that this team from Maranello have been able to put together. Ted Kravitz is down in the pit lane. I believe he's with Ross Brawn, the technical director of Ferrari.
Yeah, certainly are, James. Ross, well done, but there was a lot of radio traffic between you and Michael in the last few laps. What was the situation there?
Just keeping everything cool, looking after everything. I mean, you get paranoid at that stage of a race when everything's gone so well, so just drop the revs, drop the temperatures, take everything easy. So same with Rubens. So.
But Michael's engineer had a spare steering wheel on the pit wall. What was that about?
He did a couple of changes on the wheel. They didn't do what we expected him to. So because we turned the revs down in that situation, we changed the control and it didn't respond. So we're a little bit worried we might have had a problem. So we put a wheel to one side just in case.
Okay, thanks, Ross.
Bit of belt and braces then by the sounds of it, James, rather than an absolute problem, just concerns, but clearly they wanted to be one step ahead of the game rather than surprise. It let them down at the later stage. Win 56 for Michael Schumacher. What is that? His 102nd podium position out of 164 starts. And well, he just keeps marching on, doesn't he? There's no way of stopping him. I kind of hope Rubens would be a bit closer to him this afternoon, but I think getting leapfrogged on the start by Ralph certainly held Rubens up in the early stages of the Grand Prix. Ralph putting his fastest lap in of the whole Grand Prix on the final tour as he just tasted a chance of second place as Barrichello was really just coasting in. But your team boss always asks a few questions when you do that. He says, why didn't you pull that one out of the bag sometime earlier than that? If the car will go that fast, why didn't you do it? But anyway, nonetheless, two Schumachers then up on the podium for the umpteenth time. Barrichello will be in the middle of them.
Yes, there'll be a variety of meetings going on tonight. A very happy one in the Ferrari motorhome. A little bit of head scratching in the Williams motorhome. And a lot of hard talking in the McLaren motorhome. That's Rory Byrne hugging Michael Schumacher. You don't see Rory Byrne very often coming to racetracks. There he is in the foreground, South African. He was with Michael Schumacher and Ross Brawn at Benetton, one of the architects of their success there. And the three of them have joined forces again at Ferrari, and this is the result. Rory Byrne, the designer of this remarkable car, the F2002, as he has been of all the Ferraris that Michael Schumacher has driven since 1996.
And there they are, the Ferrari pair, the twins. Out they come in the red colours, and the crowd absolutely going off.
Amazing result, as brand new car, the 2002 model. First time they've had them both on the track together, and they get first and second. Just an incredible result.
And Barrichello's first points for the year.
Yep, not before time. He's had a lot of bad luck, the bloke. I mean, he really has.
We'll stand by for the national anthem. I've got to say, you look at that shot of Jean Todt there, he really does have the passion for the victory. I mean, he's standing with the boys, the mechanics and all the team members, and his face just lights up, doesn't it?
I think they've got the whole actors together. I mean, he makes sure that the whole team goes down to the podium, recognises the achievement of the drivers. They really do share in the victory, and that must be fantastic for the camaraderie of the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's there every week. And then look at that, Cello. I mean, that's fantastic of him. I'm really pleased. He, as you said, he's had rotten luck. And Ralph Schumacher, of course, well, he's back on the podium again, but the Williams weren't quite there. The McLarens, they were a disaster.
Well, they're very happy with the chassis, but they are down on horsepower. They said that at the beginning of the year. They're really going to have to try and do something about that, and of course their reliability. I honestly thought the Williams would take the fight a lot closer to Ferrari tonight than what they did. The speed of those Ferraris really surprised me tonight. I've got to say it was a very boring race. I mean...
bloody boring race. Have a look at the trophy on the head. Stop the champagne in the eyes. Very good. Yeah, but I mean, in saying that then, you know, like, and that's not detracting from this man's ability. I mean, he's just so wonderful as a driver and a thinker and everything about the bloke. But you just wish somebody could take the fight to him.
Well, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, we need to have cars passing. We need to have people dicing. We need to have lead changes. I mean, OK, the guy is by far, and I keep saying this is boring, he is by far and away the best Grand Prix driver in the world, and probably will end up by probably being one of the all-time greats. But we do need to see some passing and some racing.
Exactly, yeah. Flags flying. Nobody loves a win better than those fellas.
Well, there you go. Michael Schumacher from his teammate Barrichello. Ralph Schumacher in third. Montoya, his teammate, in fourth. Jenson Button fifth. David Coulthard sixth. Drivers' Championship. Well, Michael Schumacher now 34 from Ralph. 20. Montoya 17. Jenson Button fourth. Barrichello fifth. David Coulthard sixth for McLaren. Constructors' Championship. Ferrari now 40 over Williams 37. McLaren 9. Renault 8. And Jaguar and Sauber equal fifth with 3.
Mark Webber 11th.
That's terrific. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, he's doing exactly what's... You couldn't ask him to do a better job. You know, I mean, he's qualifying that car particularly well, I think. He's keeping his nose clean, and he's finishing Grand Prix.
Why would have the spare car been set up for Alex Young?
I give up.
Well, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, he's been quicker than Alex Young all year.
70 million US over 3 years might have something to do with it.
I'm just going to point to, while we're waiting for the drivers to get set, we've got little badges on here. See, little gold Grand Prix badges, and they're from Centre Jewellery, and they're in East Doncaster in Melbourne, and they were sent up to us. They're beautiful.
Yeah, they're great. 18 carat gold, little Formula One cars. So thanks very much, Morris.
Yeah, well done. All right, we'll take a break, come back with the interview. Stay with us.
On the day when you became the driver who's made the most ever starts for Ferrari, you put in a performance that any of those previous greats have been proud of. You must be delighted for yourself, the team and the fans.
Yeah, indeed. There's obviously many reasons we can be proud and happy about. We have sort of failed last year after a lot of hopes. We both had, Rubens and myself, and we sort of couldn't deliver as much as we were expecting. And this year... We gave back something, I believe, to our Tifosi. It's the first home Grand Prix for us this year. It's, as you said, a special Grand Prix for me here today. what concerns the history of Ferrari, and therefore I'm more than proud it has gone that way.
We saw the Constructors' Cup being awarded to Rory Byrne. We don't see him very much. Perhaps a few words about Rory and his great new car.
I mean, he's a unique person, no doubt, and I've rarely seen a gentleman like him being motivated in any circumstances, being such a great person. And we have now worked, I don't know for how many years, but most of my Formula One career, I've been working together somehow with him. And I have to say that I really enjoyed that on the human side and obviously on the technical side. And what he has been delivering to Ferrari, I think, is such a consistent, good job that we can be more than proud to have a person like him in our team. Not despite all the other persons which obviously support him, because it's not all due to him, but he obviously is the main person what concerns design, and it's great to have such a team and such a person being in our team.
Thank you, Michael. Rubens, great second place, but you just must be so relieved to finally finish a race.
Well, that's true. I mean, it's been 3 races without any points, so I was looking forward to finish a race, and it's like Michael said, it's been a really wonderful time, because to finish first and second in front of our tifosi here, it seems it's really great. So I'm proud to have a car like that, and it's been a weekend where it's one of my best weekends in terms of car setup and car balance, because it's been really a wonderful car.
Now, there seemed to be a slight problem in your second pit stop, and you seemed to go a bit slower towards the end. Were there problems?
Well, I don't know what the problem was. I think I had a small problem on the left rear tyre. But after the second stop, after 5 laps, they told me to take care of the engine, so I just slowed down a little.
Rubens, thank you. Ralph, third today, was that really the best you had in the package today?
Well, that was the best we could do. I think we had a reasonably good strategy, very similar to Ferraris. I managed to stay in front of Rubens the first stint, but then he pitted a lap later, so that's why he got me. I think for our circumstance, our car was very good today. The team did a great job. I mean, we did the best with what we've had today. But certainly it looks like it is not good enough, so we have to improve if we want to win races in the next few or in the future. So that's pretty definite after today.
On the plus side, you made a very good start, and then going into the first corner, you had quite a big lock-up. Was that quite close to being a problem?
Not really, but it's always when the brakes are not really warm that you tend to lock the front wheels from time to time. It looks worse than it is.
Thanks, Ralph. Michael, big party tonight?
We sort of have certainly a celebration, but obviously being so early in the season, our mind is now already at the next Grand Prix. We start testing from Tuesday on, so preparation goes on. It's a bit of a shame that we don't have sort of more time to enjoy such a success, but for sure we will open a bottle of champagne and have a glass all together.
Just business as usual, isn't it? We'll be training and practising on Tuesday, and away we go again.
Yeah, and not only that, not only will he be out on Tuesday or something, but the test driver and other people will probably be in another circuit doing something as well. I mean, they just can't rest for a second. I mean, look at McLaren 3 or 4 years ago, absolute dominant force in Formula One, and now they're struggling. I mean, Häkkinen must be thanking his lucky stars he picked this year to have the sabbatical.
Interesting to see, looking at Ralf Schumacher, the head's down, isn't it? I mean, I think they thought they were going to do a lot better today.
Well, so did I, and I think it's probably a combination of things. I think probably the weather, the tyres didn't suit the circuit at that particular... Because last year they were very, very strong. There's no doubt about it. That BMW's got a heap of grunt, but I just don't think they could use it today.
OK, so that's it. Our next Grand Prix is the Spanish Grand Prix. That's from Barcelona, 11:30 Sunday, April 28th. Now, that's following the Logies, and we know that the Logies don't always go to time, so it'll be around about that time somewhere along the line.
Always following something.
We hope you've enjoyed the race. It was a crushing victory for Ferrari, and let's hope, really, that we can get some competition back into Formula One with the races that are yet to come for the rest of the season. All right, hope you've enjoyed it. On behalf of all the team here, it's goodbye.
Next on 9, Sunday Football brings you the rugby league game between St George Illawarra Dragons and the Parramatta Eels.
This has been another presentation from Nine's Wide World of Sports.